Chris Potts.
And I'm Alex Kingman.
And today we're going to go over the news again.
Yeah. Tonight, or the night we're recording this episode, because yes, this is another nighttime episode, marks the beginning of the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, go Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
All right, and in other news, I've got on my front, I've got Deputy Director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe, quits amongst Trump criticism. It's been quite the scandal. A lot of there's been a memo that's come out since then and stuff like that, and a lot of it is allegedly sounding like it's to deter the Russia investigation.
Gotcha.
So
interesting. SpaceX this week had a successful launch of the Falcon Heavy booster rocket, which means that they are going to officially be moving forward on making the Big Falcon rocket, which will be for transporting people, basically. So that'll be moving on to that probably next year, and hopefully doing tests of that in 2019. It's also it outbeats any rocket made to date by over twice the payload capacity. So it completely opens up a new total category of rocket.
Space, it's here now. Also, last week, in sad news, in Portugal, Portugal had one of its very rare episodes. It's a very rare thing for this country, apparently, that I was reading. It was one of the first recorded incidences of a school getting shot at after two parents were arguing over custody. It was a stepdad and a dad arguing over custody of who would take the kid.
Oh, wow.
So it's one of the. They were talking about how it's really, really rare for gun problems and stuff to happen in Portugal, and the fact that it escalated so quickly has made a national day of mourning.
Wow. What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, yes. A Toronto man has been arrested and is being charged with the murder of 6 people.
Oh, I saw that, the Canadian serial killer thing. Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, and he had been storing their bodies inside flower pots at an elderly woman's home that he had made a deal with her that he would store his yard tools there in exchange for free landscaping work.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And my last one is actually kind of a fun one. So it's this on February the 2nd in the United States of America. It's generally considered Groundhog's Day, and Groundhog's Day is a tradition that goes back for years and years and years. There's a groundhog named Punxsutawney Phil, and he is he's known for being able to tell the weather, I guess. It sounds weird now that I say it out of my mouth. As a child, it just made perfect sense. But if he sees his shadow on February the 2nd, the tradition goes that he will predict that there will be 6 more weeks of winter. So he did see his shadow, which means we have 6 more weeks of winter.
Not surprising.
Not surprising at all.
6 more weeks of winter in mid-February? That just sounds about right. Thanks, Punxsutawney Phil.
Do we have a guest tonight, or is it just us tonight?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't think we ever really got a hold of anybody, did we?
I'll try to get a hold of someone real quick. Oh. So I'm gonna call Patrick. I'm sure he's not doing anything tonight.
All right.
Let's see. All right, Bonnick. Where are you? There you are. I'm gonna give him a ring-a-ling on this phone, and I'll put it on speaker just so you all can hear it. Hey, Patrick. What are you doing tonight?
Nothing much.
Cool. Would you like to be a guest on our show?
Yeah, Patrick, you want to come and see us? Come talk to us?
All right. How long are you going to be?
I'll be in there in a minute. I'm actually just sitting in your garage right now drinking beer.
All right. We'll see you here in a second.
All right. See you.
Okay.
Did he say he was in our garage?
Yeah, he said he was in our garage.
Drinking beer?
Drinking beer.
Where did he get beer?
It's Patrick. He always has beer.
Yeah, that's true. And how did he get in our garage?
Another undiscoverable thing. But he's here, so I guess we found our guest.
I guess so. Well, that works out all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's a Patrick.
Hey, it's Patrick.
You got here awfully quick from the garage.
I know.
All right.
How that happens.
Tis a strange world out there. So,
Well, hey, Patrick, how's it going? What's new? What's how you been?
Yeah,
welcome back.
Well, apparently I'm homeless because I'm in your garage. No, that's not true.
Oh, so Patrick, what's new with you?
Nothing much. I'm just working construction, which is different from last time I was on the show.
Right.
Also starting as a bouncer at a bar,
Hey,
which that's going to be fun.
reemphasizes how big you are.
Also, could explain where he got beer.
Yeah, could explain.
True.
So I'm going to start off the conversation, obviously, with the Westworld trailer came out for the Super Bowl, Westworld Season 2, but more importantly, I want to talk about another show on HBO, which is Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know what you guys think the absolute worst ending to Game of Thrones would be. Because I've heard some theories, and some of them sound really good, and other ones just sound like absolute garbage.
Honestly, I would just be disappointed if they just kind of like if it just followed all of the typical tropes, you know? Like, at this point, everything in the show has led up to, you know, where we're at, and the last season was a little bit more, I mean, a lot of the characters had a little bit more plot armor, like, you kind of could rest assured that, okay, these characters aren't gonna die.
Right.
Yeah, and you kind of knew which ones were going to come next. And so I'm really curious as to, like, if they're going to maintain that sort of plot armor thing, and it's just going to feel kind of like, yep, well, Jon Snow and Dany, like, are they going to do the thing where, like, guy gets girl, guy loses girl, they, like, come back in the end? Like, is that what's going to happen over this season? I don't know. I don't want to have that happen.
I think the worst way to end the show would be with a musical number.
Well, clearly.
Well, I would still watch it.
Actually,
I would watch it.
every episode starts and ends with a musical number.
Yeah, that would be the worst way to end Game of Thrones. That or the there's the theory out there that I think Kit Harington had told to him at a Comic-Con one time, where this one guy, he said he was just like, what if this whole world exists in the dream of the dog ghost, like Jon Snow's dog ghost, so it just goes right back to the very beginning, and it was just like all a dream in this dog's head. I think that would also be a terrible way to end the show.
That's because
Or it's
making
just
the
a
entire
dream.
story a dream in anyone's head is a terrible way to end the story.
True.
Like, it makes you mad no matter what. Like, it sucks to get invested in characters and a story and then to, like, pan out to, like, some stranger just asleep on a park bench. It's like, fuck that
Or it
noise,
just
man.
zooms out and it's George R.R. Martin just waking up. Like, that's a good idea.
It's just him writing the first page, and he's like, where do I go from here? Like, it's just been him thinking about it the whole time. Oh, man. No, yeah, but I would feel like a musical number would be the worst way to end this show ever. Like,
Jon Snow can die again.
I'm Renly Baratheon.
And that's how it ends. And then, like, all of the characters that died come back out dancing, and they all end the show like holding arms together and bowing.
I think I came up with that idea because one night I was hanging out over with Sam, and he was just obsessed with showing me Spam-A-Lot, which I've never seen, but it sounds really funny. But I was just imagining, what if they made Game of Thrones a Spam-A-Lot kind of style at the very end?
Yeah, that'd be
It was like the way to jump the shark on it.
yeah, like the police pull up and arrest everybody. Just like at the
Oh,
end.
absolutely.
Yeah, right?
Oh.
Patrick,
Yes.
we've already asked you this, but I want something new. I mean something that you wouldn't even think would be worth bringing up because it's normally a Patrick's alone time thing, but still appropriate for the
Also,
show.
yeah, not masturbation.
Yeah. Have you been playing any new video games lately?
I've been playing Assassin's Creed Origins.
We were just talking about
Let's talk
today.
about that.
And
When'd you
it's
get
a
it?
lot for Christmas.
Okay, so you've had it for about a month and a half now.
Yeah.
A month and a week and a half.
Yeah.
What is your overall impression of the game? Or rather, how many hours do you think you've put into it?
About 20 hours.
Now, what's your overall impression of the first 20 hours of the game?
Pretty amazing. There's a few hiccups in the game.
Eat the microphone, Patrick.
eat the microphone.
Yeah, basically just talk really heavy into that microphone.
Is this better?
Yeah, you're good.
Perfect. Okay. Well, some of the mess ups that I have with the game is the camera angles kind of get weird in combat sometimes, and which isn't a big deal, but it gets bad when you're fighting a boss or something and suddenly you're just looking through a wall.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But
Does
it's a good game overall.
Does that just add to the challenge? Like, is it kind of like Fatal Frame, where like the camera angles really do make the game more fun, or do you feel like it's like this wasn't meant
Like,
to happen?
you could still rotate the camera, but when you're locked onto a character, the camera is placed right behind you.
Yeah.
You can't rotate it, so if he is away from the wall and you're right up against the wall, you're just looking at a wall from the inside.
Yep.
Do you think
And it ruins it.
So the camera can clip through actual like items, like scenery and stuff. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Do you think an improvement would be a musical number?
Yes. I would love it if the main character just started singing.
I have a question for you.
Every time you entered a new location, if he sang a whole new world from
Right.
Aladdin.
It makes sense because they went by the Sphinx, and then there's just that one scene where like you like at the Sphinx, and the like guy chips off the nose.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and you watch it, you see like the flying carpet go by.
And then it just breaks to the opening credits of Assassin's Creed. I would give it a 10 out of 10 at that point, but right now it's a 9 out of 10.
Right.
So when we were watching some gameplay videos of it earlier today, we saw something where it looked like they were in Rome. So like, does the game kind of like bounce between areas, or is it mainly in Egypt?
Oh, I hope
It's
my theory's
mainly in
right.
Egypt. There is a level that I've played so far where you are on a trireme and you're heading to Pompeii, and you could also go to Alexandria.
Yeah.
So that might be the Rome-esque looking area.
No, I mean this said like Roman Acropolis, which means it was in Rome, and so
Okay.
that's.
Well, I haven't made it that far then.
Interesting. Okay, so when you get that far, you have to look.
Okay.
So we in this area we have a T-Mobile like warehouse kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? And it's where they have all of like the inbound call or some of the inbound calls and stuff like that. And I heard from a couple of employees something that was really interesting after the Super Bowl this week. So T-Mobile ran a commercial, and the commercial was just a bunch of babies, right? Like just a bunch of babies looking real cute, laying on that like stupid pink color and stuff like that in the
Yeah.
background, and it just like starts talking about how everyone is equal, like everyone is born equal. It was really kind of one of those like preachy kind of. It wasn't funny or anything
Yeah.
like that, but it was kind of preachy and stuff like that. But I was talking to a couple people there and stuff like that, and they were telling me that that night there were a lot of people that called T-Mobile to cancel their T-Mobile like stuff like that. And he's like the people that I were talking to and stuff like that, they were telling me about like a lot of those people got a lot of flack for it because of like they were Trump supporters that for some reason were just so mad about how preachy this company's like commercial was that they're like, we are no longer going to support T-Mobile. And it baffled and confused me on this idea because I'm like, it didn't say anything about being like, it wasn't like a bunch of babies on a pink background that goes, Hillary should have won. Like, or the world is a fucked up place, man. It just said everyone was born equal. And I feel like it's weird because the people that want to make America great again on this idea or this candid like saying of make America great again, the thing that's great about America is like, I think, what is it in the first part about it, it's that all men are created equal and they're endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, and they use the word equal. That's it was the weirdest like fucking fuck you to a company that I could have imagined.
I can't even imagine. Like, I don't even know. Like, see, like, if I had seen that commercial, I'd have just been like, well, that was an odd ad choice.
Yeah, I was like, it's not funny, and I didn't get it, but I was like, but it makes sense because it's the time that like a billion fucking people see it, like. But I thought it's weird that like a commercial like that can have such an effect.
Yeah, no kidding.
That is
People. Well, I mean,
weird.
yeah, you know, honestly, like, if I had to guess, if I was gonna release an ad for anything where I was trying to make a point to people, like, as soon, like, in my mind, I feel like I would, like, just by making a point, I'm going to lose in game.
Right.
Yeah.
You're gonna get some people that really like the ad. You're gonna get some people that really don't like the ad.
Yeah.
No, I get that kind of idea. It's just like, who gets mad at babies? Like, I mean, people get mad at babies all the time. I'm constantly with people that are like, man, I wish that baby would stop crying.
Well, I know what you
But,
mean.
like-
Who gets mad at a commercial with babies on it?
And they're being quiet.
And
It's
they're-
not like
yeah.
they're like whining or anything. Like
Yeah.
they're just like big old eyes and googling around like, why is there a camera in my face?
I wonder if it had something to do with like those people who had T-Mobile accounts who were like watching the Super Bowl were probably like, well, that was a weird commercial, and everyone was like, yeah, fuck T-Mobile, and they were like, oh shit.
Oh man,
No,
I gotta change my life.
change
I
my
gotta
life
go.
now.
I gotta go to Sprint. They're not making preachy commercials.
Exactly. You're feeling me.
I wonder if T-Mobile in that commercial is trying to make reference to their T-Mobile One plan, though, which means every
I don't know,
customer
I-
pays the same.
You know,
I mean,
that's
that's probably
maybe
the
maybe
reference they're
that's it.
making.
Maybe the reason that maybe the reason these Trump supporters were so mad is because they don't like universal health care, and they're like, well, I don't want my cell phone care to be the exact same way as universal health care. It's a slippery slope to communism.
What do you mean I can't pay for better service?
Yeah.
What? You mean that you just offer one service and that's what I get? Yeah, it's kind of like a vending machine. You put $1 in and you get whatever snacks are at hand.
Yeah. Well, they don't have my baklava in there. Why are you eating baklava out of a vending machine? That sounds like a terrible place to get baklava. But yeah, no, I thought it was funny. I didn't watch the Super Bowl, honestly. Like, did any of you watch the Super Bowl? I watched Nausicaa with my girlfriend instead. Like, I was just like, I didn't really care if the Patriots, who win all the time, defeated the other icon of America, which is the Eagles, because you've got a Patriot versus an Eagle, which are two American standards. But I heard that it was wild, like in Philadelphia afterwards. I heard like there was, but part of me wonders, I'm like, how wild was it? Like, did they get a couple people that were like, we're gonna flip car if they win, and like they only got like 3 pictures of people flipping cars, and that was the only 3 cars that like had anything go wrong in the entire city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I was like, we've seen weirder things in the streets of wherever you are. Like,
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like, honestly, like, I spent the night, like, at the studio working on music. Like, I just didn't care to think about the Super Bowl. Like, I actually forgot it was happening. Like, I remembered that, oh yeah, the Super Bowl's coming up, like, on Thursday before.
right.
But then afterwards, it was just like, oh yeah, okay, well.
I just know that no one invited me to a place where they were gonna have free food, and so I just decided to go watch Nausicaa instead,
Yeah.
which was amazing. I'd never seen it. It was one of the Miyazaki films that I'd never seen. I think it's my new favorite.
Nausicaa.
Nausicaa.
Give us a brief synopsis, because I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah.
so basically, cue music. In a mystical world where the world has gone to heck, the Earth decides to fight back by making giant pill bugs, and there's a forest filled with deadly spores that you can't breathe. And there's these people that inhabit these little kingdoms, and they have flying machines and all this other stuff, but they're basically separated by the fact that there's all of these evil spores everywhere, and these giant bugs, which are, I think they're called something else, but like, they have this knack that when the balance of the earth is not in tune with them, their eyes turn red and they just start raging and they're going to destroy cities. And so there's this one girl who's named Princess Nausicaa, and she has the ability to calm these bugs down by just like this like kind of little noisemaker kind of thing in her plane. So she basically goes and saves the day from all these bugs destroying things. But then these 2 other kingdoms start having war with each other, and they try to bring back a super weapon, which is known as these giants that haven't been seen for thousands of years, and they just incubate in these giant eggs that are invisible, or like they're these giant like see-through eggs. And they're like, this one kingdom is going to use it against another kingdom to try to destroy it. But in order to do so, they go to Nausicaa's hidden valley, and they're trying to use it there to test it out.
Interesting.
And it's really weird. That's a terrible way to say it. You just have to watch it. It's aesthetically beautiful. It was written as a graphic novel first by Hayao Miyazaki, and then they made it into a movie, and so it's phenomenal.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I'm very interested.
I am
I want
too.
to see giant pill bugs.
Yeah. They're creepy looking, too. They're awesome. So... But yeah, so that was Nausicaa. That's what I watched, and I thought I had a better Super Bowl than the people that had a Super Bowl.
What's your Super Bowl like, Patrick?
Mine started with me doing laundry. And
Nice.
then
That's where it
I
always
went and
starts.
got told that I was going to be a bouncer on Fridays, and then I saw a little bit of the Super Bowl right then. It was like the end of the second quarter. I didn't really watch it. I just drank a beer and waited for my boss to come and tell me, hey, you're working Fridays. And then I left there and watched the open house on Netflix.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
you
was
were
telling
saying
you
that
about
it was
that
pretty
earlier.
it was pretty interesting up until the very end.
It was good until the last like 10, 15 minutes. It was a great horror film up until that point. And then Netflix screwed it up.
They screwed it up.
So it's like,
Yeah.
is it kind of the
Okay,
same way
like-
that did you ever watch the OA?
No.
Like either of you?
Yeah,
did you
I
watch
did.
it? Like
Yeah.
I
Is there
hate
more
it.
of it?
I don't know. I think there's gonna be a second season, but I watched the first season,
Yeah.
and it was immaculately interesting for almost 8 episodes, and then at the very end of the episode of the series or season finale, they just made it stupid, and I was like, I wasted 8 hours watching this intricate show that I thought was gonna pay off a lot more, and then it turned dumb.
Just the way they wrapped up the horror film, it was just very poor choices. It was just like, why would you do that? Why would the main characters be that stupid? They were smart through the entire film, and then the last 15 minutes, they were just being stupid. And
Right.
I'm not going to say what happened to them, but it was. I regret watching it now.
The last 15 minutes of a film make you
Made me regret the
Yeah.
whole hour and a half.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. That in and of itself, I have to see. I want to watch something that I enjoy, and then at the very end, it makes me regret it.
You'll see.
All right.
And then I started watching Friday the 13th, but I had like the original Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And then I had to go home because I had work the next day, which was stupid because I got called the next day and said, "We're not working today." So I could have
because
actually
it's,
finished-
it's construction if the weather's terrible. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like
It was 13 degrees in the morning.
Patrick, you were a Marine, weren't you?
Mhm.
Like, so how do you feel about this military parade they keep talking about? Like how the United States is going to have a military parade.
I think it's stupid.
Okay, but I mean, elaborate.
Well, from what I've seen, there's been, with the government collapse, a lot of my friends who are still in the military are pissed off at how low their pay is, or different cuts that have happened to them. And then suddenly, we want to pay so much money for a really expensive parade, glorifying them.
Right.
And my friends just want to get paid normal. They could take this money and actually boost the pay of the military back to what it was. Instead,
Okay,
they're
but
blowing.
they're going to make their standard pay for being in the march, right? Like if we do have like a march where we
Where
we do like we see all of it,
I
like the
saw a
Soviet
funny-
Union, where we march all our rockets around
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw a post that a military site made, which is the biggest working party for the military. And working parties is just it's not a party, it's just doing work.
Right.
As a group. So, I've seen a few Marines share this article saying, this is fucking stupid, because they're just getting people, pulling them from their jobs to march, and they make more money doing their jobs. They're going to be paid less, actually, to march in this parade.
then they would normally get paid just for being
Doing
on
their job.
post.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That is crazy. That's insanity to me.
So I've not heard anything about this. This is new to me. I want to know more about this parade itself. What's the plan?
So Donald Trump, I don't necessarily know what the whole reasoning is. It was a couple days ago and stuff like that, and he was just like, we need to have a military parade to honor our military
I think
kind of
he's
thing.
just trying
Like,
to compete with North Korea.
yeah,
Their military
that's
parades.
what I kind of assumed with it, where it's like North Korea boost all their rockets around. The BBC said it best and stuff like that, where they're like, the United States is generally well known as having the largest military, or most powerful military. Not the largest, but the most powerful military in the world. But they don't do displays generally of power, much like China or North Korea or Russia. It's just something they don't really do.
Yeah, and as soon as we start
Just
doing it,
bragging,
it becomes some
pretty much.
sort of tradition that will like take on forever, you know. Because once you do it, everyone wants to do it more.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing is we haven't really had. Like, I think someone asked me last night. They're like, "When was the last time historically that you can imagine that we've had a military parade?" And I just looked at someone. I just kind of shrugged and I was like, "I don't know, VJ Day. I don't that like Victory in Japan Day after World War II when we fought a war and we won. Like that. That's literally the last time that I can really recollect that we had anything."
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. If you'll post on the Twitter or the Facebook.
Enlighten us, please.
Yeah, enlighten me if I am wrong about that. I would like to know if like maybe there was something about Vietnam or something like that. I know there's like Veterans Day that like veterans will march in and stuff, or like military people will march in, but not like a national military parade. I feel like has not been seen in a long time.
Yeah. And like, what would you guys guess that like the goal for accomplishing it is? Like, is it for us? Is it like if we're competing with North Korea, then what is the end goal for the competition? What's the point?
I think it's
scare them, man.
well, yeah. It's like okay, so like
how does marching our weapons around our own people scare North Korea?
because North Korea, I think the idea of it, from what I can think, the reason I think the whole thing is going on is because I have a feeling that it's one of those things where North Korea has all these videos. We never march anything, and so like in North Korea or places that are kind of like pushing at us, I think this is the mentality in the GOP is that the people that keep pushing and prodding at us don't really know what kind of military we have. Like why does no one really mess with Russia as much? Why does no one mess with North Korea? Why does no one mess with China? It's because they know they see the nuclear warheads driving down the street. They see the armies marching goose step, like in formation and stuff like that. And I think the thing is, whenever Gorbachev came over to the United States to visit, and he came to Washington, D.C., his idea, like, this is the Soviet premiere in, like, 1970s, 1980s. He came over and he saw all of the infrastructure that the United States had, and then he saw all of the cars that were driving around, and he thought for some reason that there was a mandated thing where all the cars in the region had to drive around to try to make it look more impressive, and it was just normally how the United States just had a shit ton of cars that we just drive around all the time.
Yeah.
But he thought it was like a
He thought we were showing.
he thought it was like a show of
rather than
power
actually
kind of thing and stuff. And I think this is the exact mark of the military march, where it's supposed to be like it's in its essence. The idea, I think, is to show enemies like ISIS, Boko Haram, Al Qaeda, North Korea, like people that are considered the United States' opposition, Iran and stuff like that. That we have a very big military. This is a small fraction. This is what we marched around. Think about how much bigger it is. Like, and that's the only reason I can imagine it. I don't think it's for like national prestige or like people are like calling for it. They're like, we need to show that our armies looks great, like, and stuff like that. Like, because people see soldiers all the time. We see them in army fatigues in Starbucks. We see them in army fatigues in like the grocery store and stuff. We know there's a military presence, literally not but like 25 miles away from us at most of the time, it seems like. So
Yeah, it's true.
but yeah, that's the only reason. But I wanted to get your opinion on it because you were in the military and stuff like that, and I just didn't know, like, because you clearly still know people that are in it, and if they've talked about it or anything, and having you as a guest tonight makes perfect sense for it.
Well, like I said, they just aren't happy with it because the money could go and help them in different ways. But it's going to a parade.
Right. Well, I think it's come to that point right now where we super fight.
Oh man, we got a super fight.
We got a super fight, and we've got to see who the winner of last week's challenge was. And that last week's challenge was Michael Jackson, who can hold a force field while holding his breath, versus Helen Keller times 10. We got the polls in.
We did.
We did. I got the polls in. And general consensus is unanimous that Helen Keller, 10 of them, would win. And here's why. Though Michael, we've already given the idea that Michael Jackson is alive. He can only be alive. He's not dead because he'd be impossible to be,
he would win.
because he doesn't breathe. So him being alive and holding his breath, the idea behind it is the fact that eventually he'd have to breathe. And so this force field that is around him, all of the Tin Helen Kellers would swarm like in a zombie film until he had to breathe, and then they attack. And once they're there, he can't do anything. It doesn't matter how many times he holds his breath, they've already got pieces of him. And so that's why Tin Helen Kellers wins this week.
Tin Helen Kellers wins. I'm fine with that, you know?
Yeah, I think that was something that I had thought the entire time, too. I was like, it's just a waiting game for Helen Keller. And she's got all the time in the world, because what does she know about, like, she doesn't know day or night. It's not like she's just, like, she just literally operates on just being like, today I'm still alive.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So,
that's true.
And that's 10 of them.
Yep. Okay. Michael Jackson is out.
All right, now. All right. Patrick, do you want to do us the honors of drawing for us today and drawing who fights and what is their special power? So draw a white card first.
Okay. Just take anywhere, or
Somewhere from the middle, preferably.
Just, yeah, wherever. But yeah, somewhere preferably from the middle. So we have
Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
And a black card. Because they gotta fight Helen Keller.
And he has 3-foot fingernails.
Ooh, that's gonna make that dexterity on that, like pulling back the bow, a little hard. I feel like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
a bit.
That kind of. But like, what's he gonna do from him? Like he steals from rich people to give to people like Helen Keller.
Yeah, he's just like the greatest like jewel thief ever and stuff like that. Like it's just. What if that's just it? Like he has like the short game. He doesn't use his bow because he's got 3-foot finger or like feet fingernails and stuff like that. So what he does is he like tickles her just constantly to like get around her, and she like does something and
But he
like
has
hits her.
10 to fight.
Yeah, he does have 10 of them to fight.
He does have 10 of them.
But they're also.
But he has 10 fingers, so
He also has
tickle all 10.
He makes them fight each other. Like that's he just like collates them against each other by like tickling one and tickling the other, and they like kind of hit each other until like the other one's dead.
Yeah.
Like that's clever. That's clever, Patrick. I like where this is going. Sounds like Robin Hood might be the successor.
I don't know how 10 Helen Kellers could overpower him.
I know.
Pretty versatile.
He's sprightly too. He robs from the rich and gives to the poor. He robs people, which means he's good at getting away with it.
Yeah, right.
I think the poor would be afraid of him, though, with 3-foot long fingernails. I'm pretty sure he would end up as a folklore and be some kind of monster that just comes out of the woods and throws money at people.
Do you think he's like Howard Hughes, like where like people might just look at him and be like, "Oh, Robin's going through a weird stint right now." Like he's not known to have this. He's just like Robin's really let himself go. Like he just stopped cutting his fingernails completely.
And now you just have to deal with him. You just, well, I can't look at him. I don't even want to take the gold. It's been in those fingernails.
You know what? You know what? I can just wash the gold. Just give me the gold.
Alright, I want to bring up one other thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, of course. I just thought we should get to Super Fight sometime.
I got a good one. So there's this game coming out. It's a new Hideo Kojima game, and if you don't know who Hideo Kojima is, he's the guy who made all of the Metal Gear Solid games and all of the Silent Hill games, if I remember correctly. Yeah. He is no longer with the company Konami, and this will be like his first big release after Metal Gear Solid 5. And like he's known for like bending reality with like, or bending, you know, like what you can consider like a form or an experience for a video game.
Right.
You know, to him, as soon as he announced the video game, that's when it starts. You know, like his advertisements and his trailers are all part of the game. Like they all play into the experience. And this new game, Death Stranding, has a bunch of interesting trailers. It's got Mads Mikkelsen as the main bad guy. Apparently.
Nice.
Yep.
Wait, is this the one that you showed me? That one video where like he like it's like the soldiers go underneath the bridge kind of thing and stuff like that.
Mads Mikkelsen's got all of his characters like the soldier, but then he's got all the like skeleton soldiers attached to him by wires. I watched this video. I can't remember what it was called or who it was. I'll have to remember to remind myself to put a link in this video for that. This guy did like a short analysis of the 3 trailers, and he was talking about the way Hideo Kojima has worked in the past with his games and things that he's done to kind of expand what you think a video game should be.
Right.
And what he thinks this new game is actually about. Because Guillermo del Toro is involved and is even one of the CGI characters in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Norman Reedus is also the main character of the game.
Right.
But what he proposes is that this game is going to be about the connection between gamer to game that we've always experienced, and how the wires that control people are players. They're like players. You know, they're people who can control other people. And so Mads Mikkelsen's character might be like a bad version of that. And what you see them, like, whenever you see these big aliens and stuff, you know, like, when they're, like, trying to eat them, it's almost like the characters, like, they're trying to kill themselves. And they're trying to escape being sucked into it. And he, like, his idea is that maybe these big beings are actually the players, you know.
Right.
And they're pulling the video game characters themselves from the universe that they normally live in into the game universe to control them for a while, and they think Norman Reedus' character might be.
See, when you said Del Toro was involved with it and stuff like that, like Guillermo, all I thought was maybe there's some kind of connection with like a Lovecraftian kind of theme to it, because he's been wanting to do something like Mountains of Madness for years, and a lot of his things also work with like Lovecraftian kind of horror kind of thing.
Right. And that's what's interesting too, is because there are these gigantic, you know, like they look like hundreds of meters tall.
Yeah.
Like, you know, hominid-looking beings, but instead of hands, they just have these like tentacles that come off.
Right.
But they're like the cables that come off of Mikkelsen's character, you know, and control their things. So it makes me think that they're supposed to be like that you're literally sucking these characters from their universe into the head of this character. So it's like you're saying, okay, you're coming out of this and you're coming into my head, and I'm controlling you now.
Huh. Interesting.
And I'm kind of interested to see how they play that out, because it's called Death Stranding. And like, death is always an interesting thing in most video games, because you can almost always restart, put in another coin, tap X to continue, you know, stuff like that. You have a save file, you respawn, your character starts over, and the whole game is where it was when you started before.
Right.
And that's the nature of games. So I feel like he's really going to be playing on that whole concept where, you know, that we're going to understand death in a video game in a way we've never experienced before.
Yeah.
And I just really like that concept.
So yeah. But yeah, like no, that does sound really interesting and stuff like that. I you showed me the trailer for that. I got really excited to see it.
Yeah, I highly recommend watching like an analysis video on that, because it's fun to, like, Hideo Kojima, I don't know. Video games to me are like the highest form of art. You know, they encapsulate everything you could want to do with art into one medium, and they also make it an interactive experience, which is kind of crazy to me. And so seeing somebody like Hideo Kojima, I mean, he's in his 50s and he's making a video game. Like, he's gonna have something to say, you know?
Right.
Like, that's the way I look at it. Like, even Metal Gear Solid 5, when you, like, I don't know if did you play that, right?
Yeah.
Did you notice that did you beat it?
No.
When you get to the end of the game, it has you repeat like a bunch of missions over and over and over and over again. And it's also like the character Big Boss that you're playing as most of the time. He isn't present at the end of the game, so you're just kind of playing off randomly. Like, you have no narrator, you have no storyteller. Hideo Kojima is no longer part of Konami, so you're just stuck. And I kind of interpreted it that way. It was like he found out he wasn't going to be with Konami anymore while making that game, so he made it to where at the end you were stuck in the same place you would be if Konami tried to make another Metal Gear Solid game, you know?
Huh.
That's cool.
In a place without Big Boss and without the actual narration. And so like experiencing that in a video game was like kind of mind-boggling for me. And so I'm really intrigued to see what he's going to do with this next game, because he clearly has things to say, you know?
Yeah.
Right on.
That's all. I'm sorry. I was just
that's a great topic of discussion. We could probably talk about that for like 2 whole hours, or just video games in general and stuff like that. In fact, we do talk about video games quite a lot.
Right. We've done it twice now today.
We've done it twice in the same episode. 2 episodes. Wait, did we do it? No.
Yeah, we
talked about Assassin's Creed. Yeah. So yeah, where was I? Well, Patrick, thanks for joining us. Do you have anything you want to say or pitch at the last end of this?
I beat you, Sam.
All right.
Whatever.
That's all I have to say.
Come back with a vengeance. Destroy Patrick.
That's right, Sam. You heard him. He challenged you live on the air. You have to come back and try to be more entertaining than the man that we tell stories about when he's not here.
That's a fact.
So, All right. Once again, make sure to check out ThoughCraft with Alex and his girlfriend Kaylee. Make sure to check out What's Haunting Wes and Nate. Guys, join us on Facebook and Twitter at Waking the Kraken or Waking Kraken. Also, be able to check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Music, or SoundCloud, or wherever you find podcasts. Apparently, I've been finding all kinds of odd ones, like German ones and stuff like that we show up on.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like there was like one that I saw the other day. It was weird.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you're not from the United States, please leave a comment. We want to know. Tell us where you're from.
Yeah. But mostly in English. Because we won't be able to read it without Google Translate.
Or do it on Facebook because you can translate.
Ah!
Do it on Facebook. All right. Well, guys, thanks for joining us once again on this show. We appreciate all of you constantly. It's fun to see how many of you listen to us. Have a good night, guys.
See you.
Sounded like it.